Call the meeting of the North Syracuse Board of Education to order. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Flag of the United States. Thank you. I'd like to begin with a moment of silence for the following. Margaret Abbott, a retiree of the North Syracuse Central School District. Don Satunis, a graduate of the North Syracuse Central School District. Michael Shirk, a graduate of the North Syracuse Central School District. Joe Brunet, a graduate of the North Syracuse Central School District. Thank you. Okay, we're going to begin with a, a presentation. Very positive presentation. Of course, they're all going to be positive today. I'm going to read a little here, and you have to excuse my voice. I was assured I'm healthy. It's just coming off of something. Recently, Senator John W. Mannion and Assemblyman Al Sturpey requested North Syracuse Central School District submit students to be considered for the Presidential Scholars Award. Presidential Scholars Award is an annual honor bestowed upon approximately 25 high school students from across the country who demonstrate academic excellence, extracurricular involvement, and stellar citizenship. Nomination requests are first sent to school districts and from there are advanced to the state's education departments. After state education departments review the candidates, their nomination may be further elevated to the federal level. Following students were nominated by the North Syracuse Central School District for consideration for this prestigious award. Thomas Willis II from CNS, Annalisa Emmy from CNS, George Lonergan from CTE BOCES, the Wood from CTE BOCES. So congratulations to the students on their nominations. The outstanding nominees were chosen because of their work ethic, academic attainment, artistic talent, school and community involvement, and/or career and technical program accomplishments. The North Syracuse Central School District's Board of Education is proud to recognize these students and congratulates them on this honor.
At this time, I would like Jesse from Senator Mannion's office to step forward. And why don't you come over here, Jesse? Thomas Wills, you can come forward. We will. George Lonergan. Sorry. And Lisa Emmy. Batista Wood. And I know we're going to get a picture, but what we want to do is we want to say thank you for your hard work and dedication. And we want to make sure we're recognizing students in public for all their great work. And also want to thank the parents because if it wasn't for the values that you've instilled in your children, they wouldn't be the success that they are today. And again, let's give them another round of applause.
Okay, awesome. All right, our next presentation, which is probably the only person who can follow that one, but well, you're up for the challenge, right? It's our presentation on social studies. So, Berg, it's all yours. Hit there, yes. And I won't even say, is it safe? And you get that reference or no? Never mind. Marathon man.
I'm scared. Okay.
Supposed to be.
I think I'm good. I'm good. I think I'm good. So I'm so excited and so grateful to have this opportunity to speak with you about something I love so much, which is social studies. So thank you. I wanted to start with an acknowledgement. Increasingly across our country, we're becoming more keenly aware of the debt of gratitude we owe to First Peoples. So here is a little bit of an agenda, and it looks pretty beefy, but I assure you I will not talk for hours. I'm very excited to share with you all of the very wonderful things that are happening relative to social studies. And we'll start first with the seal of civic readiness. And just a quick recap. You may recall that a number of years ago, New York State came out with a real push to develop civic readiness and civic education in our state. Other states had followed this as well, and some even preceded us. So we're very excited to be part of the seal of civic readiness movement in our state. You will remember that it really seeks to develop civic knowledge, civic skills and actions, civic mindsets, and civic experiences in our students. Very important. So how does a student earn the seal of civic readiness? Essentially, they need to work to receive a either local diploma or Regents diploma, and they have to earn points from two categories. One is civic knowledge and the other is civic participation. And I know I've shown you this chart before, but it bears sort of a little reference point, because every experience that students have in this journey toward the seal can accrue toward their achieving this seal on their diploma. And this is a really coveted achievement. And colleges and universities, the military, and work, places of work really put a high value on this. So how did we get here? Last year, Mark Parrish and Matt Root, who you may know about from our food pantry work, they are the two teachers who are walking point on our seal of civic readiness. And they did an unbelievable job. They filled out this massive application. And when other school districts have gone through this application process, they've had to go back for revisions. We were able to submit and be approved right out of the gate the first time, which I'm extraordinarily proud of them and the work that they put into that. And essentially it granted us sort of enrollment in this program, if you will, as of the fall of 2024, but we were also allowed to have a soft opening this year. What does that mean? That means that our current seniors did not have the chance in 7th grade or in years prior to gather some of the experiences that might fall under the skills category. But I'm very pleased to say that the way that we have designed, is my time up? Okay. The way that we have designed our program is that literally we try to give students a myriad ways of achieving this seal. And I'm proud to say that our seniors who have not done anything out of the ordinary, but go through our program here, in our January cohort, 9 out of the 26 January graduates will have earned the seal of civic readiness. So right out of the gate, we have a pretty great start. Our target for this June is 275. By comparison, a neighboring district who has had the seal for a couple of years generally lands between 30 and 40 graduates a year. So while we are aiming high, we believe that this is a very achievable goal. And our goal ultimately is to have every student who graduates from CNS High School earn the seal of civic readiness. So some of the unique aspects of our program here goes without saying, but I'm going to say it, is our CNS food project. And again, this was the brainchild of Matt Root and Mark Parrish, who have worked diligently with support from NSCA and our teachers and community. We started back in 2021 during the pandemic, and it was an atypical school year, and there was a large demand for food. You'll remember that there were pop-up food distributions that came out of the NSCA. And also through the Rocks campus, many of our counseling staff delivered food to families on Wednesdays. The following year, which was, it was still hybrid, but more of a typical year. I think, no, we were there all the time. There was a little bit of a contraction as more of the schools became aware of the programming. Last year, it picked up to over 7,000, and we're on pace to deliver over 7,600 backpacks. Now, these are snack packs. These are in a number 10 paper bag, and they have food that students pick up either on a Thursday or a Friday in a very confidential, discreet way. And it has food that can sustain students over the weekend. So in just 4 short years, that's shy of 30,000 snack bags that have gone home. Additionally, through the food pantry, there's over 30 individual families that have food boxes delivered on request. This is in addition to Rocks L, and I'll talk about them actually in 2 weeks when I'm back. I feel like I'm like working the Catskills. I'll be back in 2 weeks to talk about SEL. But the in addition to the snack bags that Rocks distribute, over 6,000 pounds of food annually, included both refrigerated and frozen food items, are funneled from our food pantry through Rocks Elementary. And the snacks that our students enjoy at the Rising Rock Stars after school program are provided in large part from our food project. Some other notable items to share with you. Items that have been supplied from the food bank come from our own account with the food bank. And we also receive donations primarily through River Valley Foods. These are foods that they donate to our program. And importantly, our students have contributed over 800 volunteer hours annually. In fact, there is a student right here, right now, on your very board who might actually have a connection. Thomas, can you tell us about what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I started a program called which is now called the Lunch Rescue Initiative. And so basically what I started doing is I started collecting unwanted sealed lunch foods that would often just go thrown away because of the federal requirements. When a student gets a lunch, even if they only want, for example, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, they have to get at least 1 or 2 sides. So in this case, what ends up happening a lot of the time is people will get more food than they actually want and end up throwing away the unwanted sides. And a lot of the time, this is food that can actually be entirely donated, not even like, you know, things that are quote unquote sealed, like fruit cups where they have a lid and so they're technically sealed, but they're not really because someone could open it. So applesauce was my main focal point because that stuff was sealed. If it's untampered with, I can give it away to people. And so what I started doing with that is I just was collecting it by myself every day. At the end of school, I left class early and set up donation bins. I partnered with the CNS Food Project. We've been donating it to them. And so now what the plan is, now that it's been so successful with over 3,500 items donated in 2023 just from CNS, I've created a board of directors with a few friends of mine, and we're currently on track for state registration by the end of the month. And we're looking to go into other districts right now. Jamesville, DeWitt is been doing some contact with them. And one of the things, as you can see on there, was what I called the middle school project. Not very original, but I heard about the capstone project from the Seal of Civic Readiness from my friends, Mr. Root and Mr. Parrish. And so basically what we want to do is bring this program to the middle schools to act as a sort of middle school capstone project to jumpstart the Seal of Civic Readiness at the middle schools. And yeah, if you guys have any questions or comments or ideas, you can just email lunchrescueinitiative@gmail.com. And yeah, thank you, Mr. Goldberg.
Thank you, Thomas. How extraordinary is that? And many thanks to the administration at CNS High School for supporting Thomas's work. So in addition to the food pantry, our participation in government program has done a couple of really innovative things that have been ahead of the curve. They have included a digital citizenship / verification of information unit in their course. This means that they're helping kids be able to discern, is this information true? Is this is the site that they are crediting valid? And it's really helping kids to discern whether the information they're reading is valid. Additionally, every senior from CNS High School is registered to vote. You may recall that, I believe it was last week, that our governor came out and said that she wants to ensure that every student who graduates from high school is registered to vote before they graduate. Well, we are already doing it. So that's pretty exciting. We're also excited to add a half-year civics elective in 9th grade so that, again, students can begin to accrue the points they need to get the seal. And lastly, and I hope you all have your pens out or your organizers, mark your calendar for May 9th because we have not one, but 2 middle school history fairs. 2 fairs, you say? Yes. Last year, Eileen Gleason at Gillette Road Middle School decided if science can have a fair, why can't history have a fair? And there were over 70 kids that participated. It was literally the best day of my year last year to go through these cafeterias at Gillette and see kids who are passionate about all kinds of aspects of history. And this year we're expanding it. Both Rox and Gillette are going to have history fairs on the same day. And the reason that we're keeping the history fairs in their own schools is that we believe this will make it easier for kids to access transportation and families to access the fairs. And we want as many kids involved as possible. And this will be some of their first points accredited toward their Seal of Civic Readiness. So May 9th, watch for more information. So that's kind of some secondary social studies. But what about K4? Because there's been some pretty exciting stuff happening there as well. I don't know if you've heard, but there's a new ELA program in our district. It's called Amplify CKLA. And it's been taking up a lot of time in our elementary classrooms, much to my chagrin. And for a couple of years now, I've been a little frustrated that we haven't made more time and space for social studies. And then I realized if you can't beat them, then join them. And so what we did is we decided that we were going to make social studies and CKLA kind of the Reese's peanut butter cup of the academic world. What do I mean by that? I mean that if we can't get a disaggregated direct instruction time for social studies in a very tight schedule right now, then how do we integrate social studies into ELA instruction? And with that, I put together, let me go back a second, the Curriculum Alignment Committee. As a side note, I just have to say, I have never worked with a group of people as dedicated and as hardworking as these people. I cannot say enough about these elementary teachers. And since last January, we have been able to accomplish a lot. We started with a deep dive into the K4 social studies standards. And for many of them, it was really an enlightening experience that, oh, wow. So if I have morning meeting, particularly in early primary, I'm hitting almost every social studies standard. That's incredible. And what we did is that we looked at the social studies standards, unpacked them, and then cross-referenced them with the different units in CKLA. And you see this adorable little globe? What these incredible teachers did is they put together slides that go into the CKLA slide decks for every unit on slides that designate what kind of social studies cross-referencing can happen. So if it's about a fairy tale that comes out of Denmark, there could be a map included on a slide that talks about continents and talks about where Europe is in relation to the United States, so that we integrate social studies into the CKLA knowledge lessons. It's been working really well, and as I go about and observe teachers, it's just really thrilling and exciting to hear them talking about geography and history. We also did some work on the social studies report card standards and revised them. There's much more work to be done, but it feels very exciting that we now have social studies integrated in a more fulsome way. And it's always been there, but it's never enough for me. So I'm really thrilled to see it. And once again, a huge shout out to the team, including the remarkable Nicole Kulakowski and Shannon Knapp, who has been with us from the very beginning, helping us integrate technology and access resources. Some other work in social studies, we're continuing the writing revolution and really getting some great reports out of the middle schools, especially, that there are some students who are writing beautiful paragraphs for really the first time in their lives, and they're feeling incredibly excited about writing and are enjoying it. They are enjoying writing. Yay. We're also working on some hands-on history so that it is more about doing history. Some of that involves geography and globes. Others involves a real emphasis on using primary source documents, and that includes charts and graphs and political cartoons. We are continuing our work on eDoctrina, and I am really excited that this will be a one-stop shop for all things social studies and everything else, so that teachers, and particularly new teachers, can come in and access just a plethora of incredible resources. And lastly, I want you to take a minute and celebrate with us. So this in 2023 was our second year of this new format, Regents, which is very, very challenging, heavy on the reading, heavy on the writing. We had 90% of our students pass in the second year. And last year was the first year of the US History Regents. We had a passing rate of 88%, with 22% of our students at 85 and above. So we are off to a great start in terms of mastering the new Regents. Any questions?
I have some, but I'll defer to somebody else if they want to go first.
Thank you, Lisa, for an excellent presentation of social studies. I just want to take a shout out to the high school social studies department. They work very hard, Mr. Parrish, and with that program and so forth. It's awesome. My concern, and I've had this since I've retired, is K4. And I know that we're working with the CKL program, but when I hear from teachers that they can't teach because they haven't gotten to that point in the reading book, that disturbs me. And it's happening in our schools, that because of CKL, it controls what is being done in our elementary schools. So if I wanted to teach a unit on government, if it's not in that story, then I'm not really supposed to do that. I have not looked at the curriculum. I have not looked at the standards, but we've gotten away from direct instruction in kindergarten on the family, and we wonder why we have dysfunctional families, because we don't teach it anymore. First grade was neighborhood, and second grade, I taught second grade. I spent every day talking about their neighborhood and taking a field trip to the fire department, walked across the street, went to NAVAC. Third grade used to be the world, learning a little bit about the world. And of course, my favorite, why I taught so many years, was New York State social studies. I'm just afraid we're losing some of it. I do realize that elementary teachers just don't have the time. They have to spend all this time on the reading, all this time on the math. And yes, if you kind of get it, in kindergarten, first grade, because it's in a story, that's not the way it should be. I just want to thank you for the last 2 years for taking this under, because really nothing was done before that. You have really taken and talked about social studies. We haven't had a presentation in social studies other than maybe last year, because you were it, in years. So thank you. And I hope the new person that comes will come back. Thank you.
I piggyback on what Bob said.
Okay.
Bob, I absolutely agree with you on there's a lot that has to be covered with the kids. I love that you're like trying to where things could be combined. And you know, you could probably even combine like some SEL elements in there. But in general, with the state standards, it's a lot that these kids are taking in. And I mean, there's really not enough, there's too much curriculum. And I do think that is the cause of a lot of our SEL situations that happen, but it's bigger than us. But I just want us to be mindful of, you know, the whole child is more important than trying to jam curriculum down kids' throats. But I just love that you're combining and trying to just get the, you know, what are the essential elements that every child in this grade needs to know, and, you know, try not to make it so stressful for them. But, you know, you're in a great direction. Thank you.
Other comments?
Yeah, so I just wanted to not really go off of what they were saying real quick, but I do think that they're definitely, you know, a focus on I mean, should have a focus on everything, but a good focus on building that sense of community, not only within the school, but within like the actual local area, is very important. And I think that the new seal of civic readiness being offered from 7th grade to 12th grade is a good way to address it in those schools. And I think that it definitely might be valuable to possibly in the future look into some ways and how we can apply that to the elementary schools.
Can go now? Okay. No, I just said what I'm just going back to the seal of civic readiness. I'm looking at your chart. I just have a couple questions. 6 points total. 2 points have to come out of knowledge, 2 points out of participation. And I'm looking at the participation pieces. And we have courses that promote civic engagement. They give you some credit. But I see project and service learning, work-based experience. When a student does something like that, is that, I know we're piloting it kind of, if I can use that word. Are they getting somebody to follow the project? Yes.
Absolutely. So I think what we're trying to do is, from an equity lens, to give students an opportunity to do this within the realm of school, so that transportation isn't involved. And so things like the history fair, things like the middle school lunch project, where kids can earn a capstone credit for participation in those. The snack bag program at the high school is, there is some class time that goes toward the assembly of the bags. And so that can be a service project there as well. And there's paperwork that goes with this. Students have to complete some questionnaires and forms. And so there is some accountability that's put in there. It used to be for years and years, in the participation in government. I washed my uncle's car and, you know, there was no way to verify. So we're really looking to create and structure experiences where there are accountability.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I was going next, so you answered that, because there's a difference between community service and service learning, and a lot of people don't always differentiate that. And I worked in a program like this in another life that was very, very similar to this, so I think this is an exciting direction to go. Thank
How
you.
are we going to weave this in with community schools?
Sorry, say that again?
Community schools, I imagine we're going to weave this in.
100%. And what's really cool, and Matt Root will talk about this with much more articulation than I will, but he's talked about knowing that there are students who are assembling bags who may well later be taking those bags home with them. And so this is not some amorphous, I'm doing something somewhere for someone. I'm doing something in my community for my peers, for my friends, perhaps for myself. And this idea that even in our beautiful suburban district, there are kids that go to bed hungry is sobering and reminds all of us about our privilege. And I think the idea that, and to really go back to what Beth was saying about SEL, the idea that we have no idea what other people are struggling with. And that kind of empathy and compassion is real. It's authentic. And I think it's a powerful learning experience.
Hey, thank you. And you said you'd be back in a couple weeks? And will that be the last one, you think, or you? I'm gonna see if I can come up with something else, but thank you. Hey, Mr. Rice, Science and CTE update. Good evening. That your phone doing that? Is that what you were doing?
No, it wasn't.
I know.
There was something in the boiler room, so I don't know
Oh.
if that's a good sign or bad.
We'll find out.
So my focus tonight on science is going to be on what's new, what's been happening with the state over the last few years, and what's new in terms of science within our district. A couple years ago, actually several years ago, the New York State adopted the Next Generation Science Standards. They were implemented in 2016. We've been making that transition the last several years throughout the district, primarily. Okay, this or this. Okay, there we go. Does that help? So as I started to mention, the New York State Science Learning Standards were adopted in 2016 from the Next Generation Science Standards, and they replaced MSD standards that we had from 1996. So these next few years, we're going to be seeing the fruits of the labor over the last several years in which we will be transitioning to the new assessments. So this first year of assessments for 5th grade and 8th grade will be happening in the spring of 2024. These will be computer-based tests, which will be new in the science area. Of course, they've had computer-based tests in both math and ELA for several years. In science, what else is new is that the performance exams are being phased out and they've been replaced by science investigations. These science investigations have come with the new K through 5 learning standards and 6 through 8 learning standards. You'll recall the tests used to be in grades 4 and 8, and what they've done with the new or Next Generation Science Standards is now they have grade level specific standards in grades 5 and a core in grades 6 through 8. The science investigations, there are 4 at each level for K through 5 and 6 through 8. And the idea that the state recommends is that we implement them in the year in which the disciplinary core ideas are covered. So what that means is that we have 2 investigations that are rolled out in grade 3, 1 in grade 4, and 1 in grade 5. And then in 6 through 8, it's kind of the opposite, 1 in grade 6, 1 in grade 7, and 2 in grade 8. Unfortunately, we had a few challenges the last few years in implementing this because the state rolled this out in 2022. So that means kids who are in 8th grade now, for example, in 6th grade, there was no science investigations when they were doing the weather unit. So we've had to do some catch-ups, do some makeups. We've worked through that, some of those challenges, and we're basically prepared to take those new assessments this year. Our students are taking simulation exams on the computer this month, and they've also been doing sample tests applications over the last few months in both grades 5 and 8.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Since it'll be on this, and I don't want to back up. So these investigations, they say they're scored independently of the written exam, but the content will be on the written exam. So are we supposed to just keep a record of a satisfactorily completed
So yes,
investigation like you do with the regents currently, I guess?
So it's a little different. Of course, as it was mentioned in the slides, they are scored independently. That meaning that they're on a 1 through 4 scale. But the scores are not part of the written exam, so they're independent, and so they can get anywhere from exemplary down to or exemplary or excelling down to emerging, which is a 1, and then it's followed by developing, proficient, and then excelling, so 1 through 4. But again, those scores are not showing up on the written exam. So a student who may have a developing, again, it's not going to impact their written exam, but as you pointed out, about 15% of that assessment is going to be made up of questions that are based on those 4 investigations. As I mentioned, we're also so last year we've been finding a better way to track these students because again, it's over multiple years that they will be doing the investigations. So we've been tracking them on School Tool. Some of the challenges that we have also are kids that if they were absent, we have to make sure they make them up because they're supposed to be sitting for all 4 of these investigations. And kids who are entering our school for the first time. So we could have students who are coming into, for example, 5th grade or 8th grade, needing all 4 investigations, coming from out of state or coming from other districts where they may not have been having those investigations at this point. At the high school level, we're going to be making the transition to 2 of the new courses that are going to be implemented for the first time next year. The new assessments are going to be administered in 2025 for Earth and Space Science and Life Science Biology. So we're going back to biology from living environment. And these courses are again based on the new standards, the next generation science standards and New York State science learning standards. And just like the elementary and intermediate level, there's going to be investigations that go along with the assessment. Those are going to be also scored independently of the assessment, but again, you can expect a portion of those questions to be derived from those various investigations. So they're phasing out the performance exams just like they did at the elementary and intermediate levels, and again, implementing these investigations, which are essentially labs that have to be done statewide. So there's a consistency of, across the state in terms of what labs are being implemented in each school district. Something that came out, if you look at the 3rd bullet, something that came out of the virtual learning that we did during COVID was the state's now allowing us to have virtual laboratory experiences in addition to the hands-on laboratory experiences. These virtual labs gives us some flexibility, especially with kids who may be on homebound or who are out of school for an extended period of time. But we also have some great virtual labs that have up-to-date data and they're really utilized throughout the district. And it really gives us another option for, as I mentioned, students who may be missing school. We've been making this transition and anticipating the new courses. Physics and chemistry will follow a year later in 2026. But our teachers have been using their PLC time or professional learning community time to work on and develop some of the new curriculum around the new courses. And they've been using storylines as a way to make it more relevant for students to learn, because it's a sequence of lessons which really encourages a phenomena-based type approach with students. And the next slide, you'll see some of the new courses we're going to be implementing at the high school next year. STEM sports. This basically is a new course which obviously encompasses science, technology, engineering, and math. And it's a course which I think you'll see a lot of students who especially have specific sports that they want to learn more about, and how some of the technology or science is incorporated in those sports. It will be, I think, very popular. We're replacing our AP physics with OCC physics. This will be an 8-credit course where students will basically be taking physics 103, OCC physics 103 and 104. And of course, it's like all OCC courses, it's going to be free to students who live in Onondaga County. As part of our electromechanical technology coursework pathways that we'll be implementing over the next 3 years, 3 new courses will be implemented next year. One of those courses will fall under the science area. It's problem solving and technical math fundamentals. That combines basic math and problem solving. And again, that's going to be 4 credits. It's not listed up there, but that's a student who takes that course can earn 4 OCC credits. And as mentioned in the previous bullet, those are free to students who live in Onondaga County. And then, of course, as mentioned previously, we're going to be replacing Earth Science with the new Earth and Space Sciences course and assessment, along with replacing Living Environment with biology. And then we also have a name change. We're replacing meteorology with natural disasters, which focuses on things like landslides, hurricanes, blizzards, tornadoes, etc. Before I move on to CTE, are there any questions on science? Well, we can talk about it now. So we've been making that transit because it's really not something new in terms of, except for the assessments that I talked about, which, is K through 5. But we've made that transition to the Smithsonian Science several years ago. And as you know, the Smithsonian kits also follow the Carolina curriculum. So we've been embedded with that for several years. And this, I believe we're in our 6th year of utilizing Smithsonian materials.
You know what I think about science, I love science. When I was a teacher, Dale Hesser was in your seat, and so was Jim Wenham. And we had a lot of hands-on science. And I'll say the same thing I said before. I was going to wait to the end. Science isn't reading about clouds in grade 3. They read about clouds when they make a cloud in the classroom using a bottle and the materials. That's what science is all about. John, I thank you for all your leadership. But again, this district has to look at the science program, K through 4. Again, teachers don't have the time because they have to teach reading for so many, and this is not you. And this is what's happening. I mean, we're talking about technology and we're talking about Micron, and we're not doing the things that we really should be doing in science in the elementary level. Back when I was teaching, we did in-service classes. And I thank you, and I thank the administration for keeping Main Street, keeping the hands-on program, the kits, because we can get live animals, we can get plants, and that's because of your leadership. And now it's a full-time person or it's 75% person over there. But I'm just, it's my own opinion. It isn't this board. It is that we need to go in a different direction. I love reading and I love math, but we are not getting through to children at the elementary level what science really is.
So you mentioned cloud in a bottle. That's one of the investigations that we do in third grade. That's state mandated. So all kids are getting that hands-on experience. It's part of the curriculum, and we've embedded those 4 investigations when the concept or the content is taught. So we follow that 3-dimensional model with cross-cutting measures or cross-cutting concepts and the disciplinary core ideas and embedding the engineering and science practices into our science. As you mentioned, the teachers are spread thin in terms of the time allotment, but we've also brought teachers in, teacher leaders to develop and work on and identify essential questions and essential activities that we really want them to do. So over the last couple of years, we've also been developing lesson slides similar to what social studies did in terms of helping teachers with that prep. So the identifying of essential lessons and essential activities, I think, has helped kind of streamline science so that we can have more consistency across the district. But I think we will be focusing on trying to find better opportunities for our kids to experience the hands-on learning as we move forward. And we've had many discussions on how to.
One thing I'm really pleased at that started during my time is your science exhibitions. I know Mrs. Wheeler still has it at Cicero. I believe Smith Road does. That gives children an opportunity, if they're not getting it in the classroom, that they can do some kind of scientific going through the process. See, that's the thing that we used to teach. You know what I'm talking about? The science process, hypothesis and stuff. All right. Thank you,
Okay.
John. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Nope, that's fine. Are there any questions on science?
Just the last bullet point right above this slide, not really a question, a comment. On the storyline piece, I mean, because that's kind of exciting. Is that's, you said teachers are experimenting with that right now currently?
Yeah, we actually have teachers at the high school who are using storylines, which is basically a sequence of lessons that focus on phenomena in the naturally occurring, natural occurring phenomena that occur that can be observable, such as why does the sun appear to rise and set?
Well, I mean, hopefully they're going to look at the bigger concept. The takeaway is going to be a bigger concept. The why do we need to know this kind of thing?
Yeah, it's kind of a change in the focus of how we introduce, science instead of just lecturing at students. We really want them to be inquisitive and ask questions, and this sequence of lessons basically make it more relevant for them.
I think that's great. I hope that's very successful.
Yeah, and then of course, obviously, next generation science standards, that's one of the things that they stressed, the hands-on and 3D-dimensional learning. Moving forward with career and technical education. So our CTE program has, you will see in a few slides coming up, we have 2 programs at the high school, and then obviously students have an opportunity to take multiple programs at OCM BOCES. So usually it's a multiple year sequence of courses, as I'll point out, and when we get to business and family and consumer sciences. And a lot of these allow our students to get work-based learning experiences and either take those experiences and go right into a job or go into college and bring those experiences with them. And we also, students who are enrolled in a CTE program, if they get a CTE endorsement, they can, instead of passing 5 Regents classes in those 4 core areas, they can substitute one of those they can substitute their CTE endorsement for one of the 4 Regents assessments that they have to pass. So that's known as the Regents 4+1 pathway. So again, as pointed out in the red that you see, Regents diploma without 4+1 requires passing 1 additional Regents exam or a total of 5. So with this, they only have to pass 4 Regents exams. As I mentioned, we have 2 programs embedded in the district, CTE programs. One is business, one is family and consumer science. There's 2 strands in our business program. One is finance and one is marketing. In order for a student to receive a CTE endorsement on their diploma, they have to complete 5 credits. So there's a series of required courses in each strand, and then there's some optional courses or elective courses that they can take. This past year, or what we're on track for this year, is we have 28 students who it appears will get a CTE endorsement on their diploma in finance and 37 in marketing. This is up quite a bit over the last few years, especially since the pandemic. A lot of kids have been really focusing in on completing the required coursework in order to meet the CTE program requirements. We start actually in 8th grade with business courses. Career and financial management is a required course unless they're taking the Intro to Business elective, but it's required across all CTE programs. We also offer digital electronic or communications 1 and 2 at 8th grade, and then we offer close to 30 courses otherwise that students can take, or over 2 dozen. And then there's also co-op and career exploration internship program, SEEP, things like that they can take and earn credit with. We do offer 5 college courses as part of that program. You can see up there financial accounting, which is offered through OCC, Introduction to Business, which is offered at OCC, and then 3 SUPA classes that are offered through Syracuse University. Some of the highlights about our business program, we have a Star Shop, obviously, which is run by students. And right next to that is the Core Federal Credit Union. So we have the credit union embedded right in the school. Students, again, get an opportunity to interact with staff and faculty who may be banking there. We also offer co-op. A SEEP, as I mentioned, or our Career Exploration Internship Program. We have a Business Honor Society, which some of you may have attended recently. There was 33 new inductees. You can see, you know, those inductees had to take 3 or more classes, which included at least 1 in their senior year and have an overall 88 or better average. And then we have a business club, which is very active. They've done cleanups. They've attended, food drives. They visited Weitzman's recycling plant down in Owego recently. That was in the fall. And some of you may recall they used to have DECA, but that became very pricey for our students. So we switched over to Junior Achievement and do a lot of simulation programs there where students make financial decisions based upon real world applications. Our second program that we offer at the high school, or I should say in the district, 9 through 12, junior high and high school, is Family and Consumer Science. We have 4 strands that students can earn a career and technical education endorsement in: food and nutrition, human development, fashion and interior design, and then a combination of all those, which is called all aspects. Unlike business, which we have 5 credits in order to earn an endorsement, students only need to earn 3.5 credits in Family and Consumer Science in order to get the endorsement. And one of the required courses that I mentioned earlier is career and financial management, but that could be replaced by independent living. Students, in addition to the coursework though, or as part of the coursework, they have to complete 1 work-based learning experience, which could be preschool education experience, the school age education experience, a career center job shadow, or they could participate in Big Brother, Big Sister. Through BOCES, Bob, you're very familiar with this, I'm sure. We offer several programs, which I'll be going over, actually multiple programs in career and technical education and New Visions, and I'll explain the difference of that in a few minutes. But we expose our students to the BOCES programs early on, even though only juniors and seniors can attend BOCES or OCM BOCES. We really want them to kind of see what their career pathway could be. So we really expose them in 9th and 10th grade to all the different career and technical education programs that OCM BOCES has to offer, along with the New Vision programs. This year we have 67 seniors who are attending career and technical education programs at BOCES. And these seniors go in the morning, and then we have 90 juniors who are participating in a particular career and technical education program, and they attend in the afternoon. New Vision programs is a one-year program. And again, I'll have more on that in a later slide, but we have 8 students currently in the New Vision programs, 5 of them in the medical professions, 1 in criminal justice, and 2 in the engineering program at Lockheed. So we have 165 of our juniors and seniors currently participating in the CTE and New Vision programs through OCM BOCES. And this is just, this is all the programs that are offered through OCM BOCES. You can see most of them are held at Thompson Road. They're site at both Thompson Road, which is about a 15-minute drive from the high school, unless you see something in parentheses after it. So for example, automotive technology, a lot of our students work right in Drivers Village, you know, becoming a technician. One of the new courses that you see at the bottom of that slide, firefighting and emergency medical technician, that's currently offered at the Madison County Emergency Management Tech or Training Center, and held in, I believe that's in Madison. And then you can see a few other programs are offered outside of the Thompson Road Training Center. One is the Heavy Equipment Repair Operation and Diesel Technology Program, which is run right through Tracy Road Equipment, which is located in Syracuse. Our Media and Marketing Communications Program, which is held right at the WCNY Studios, and Physical Therapy Professions Program, which is held at SUNY Upstate. Again, as I mentioned, most of the other ones are held right at the training center on Thompson Road. And the last slide, New Visions program. Again, this is a one-year program. It is competitive for students who want to get into one of these programs. They should have good attendance. They should be doing well academically, and they should have a strong interest in those programs. Those 4 programs include criminal justice, which is run through Onondaga Sheriff's, medical professions, which again is up through Upstate Medical University, our engineering professions, which again, we have a couple students attending Lockheed Martin. What's nice about that program is that they can work right alongside engineers. A lot of those kids will go on into engineering and get engineering degrees. They offer summer work opportunities for those students too, who are attending these programs. And then there's an environmental science New Visions program, which is held at Lime Hollow Nature Center in Cortland. Are there any questions on the career and technical education programs, either that we offer or through OCM BOCES?
Thomas?
So I was just wondering real quick, I've definitely seen how in recent years, there's certainly been not necessarily a phasing out, but less of a focus on AP courses and more on actual college credits at accredited colleges and universities. And I was just curious if it's in the realm of possibility that sometime in the future, potentially these college credits can be consolidated into a program at the high school where someone could work their way up to maybe an associate's degree while they're in high school, not necessarily
That,
with.
that's the good question. And actually, we are in the midst of just starting the electromechanical technology programs, which is basically kind of preparing for some of the new adventures that are coming our way and Micron and so forth. So yeah, we're phasing that pathway in next year with 3 new courses. And then it's going to be followed up by 4 courses the following year and another 3 courses, which will be held right on. We talked even about, you know, if kids or students are able to provide that transportation. Maybe one of the dilemmas will be trying to find time where our students can squeeze courses into their study. But we have been kind of making a conscious effort to switch from a lot of the coursework where kids are involved with in college, they can utilize that college credit and, you know, maybe do down the road, where some of the AP grades may not necessarily.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the right way to go. I feel like AP credits are being counted for less and less, especially these past few years. And I think that the kind of comfort that comes from actual firm college credits really goes a long way, especially for motivating students in the class. And I think that the new programs that you guys are setting up where there's actually a path for these college accredited classes is very powerful, because one of the biggest things I've noticed throughout my years of high school is people just kind of feeling overwhelmed with all of the college options. It's like, well, do I do AP or do I do this college class? And I think that having that pathway in place is going to be really.
Yeah, and one of the advantages of having, you know, the OCC credit obviously is that it's free to students living in Onondaga County.
Thank you.
Good question. So the New Visions program you said is really competitive. So do kids like have to apply and they only take a certain
Yeah.
amount?
Yes, they do. Yeah, they have to apply and they have to be in good standing with the school, you know, do well academically. Attendance is looked at and scrutinized in terms of, you know, they want to make sure that a student's going to be attending those programs because there's a limited number of spaces. So yes, it is a very competitive program.
And is that the competition is with the entire BOCES area or at
Yeah.
least in Onondaga County?
No, it's all of OCM, BOCES,
okay.
that
That's
the districts that they service. So I believe there's 29 component systems, right? Right now, 27.
I just have some comments. I want to thank our administration for putting the emphasis on CTE. And your leadership has made this program really grow. You know, I'm excited because I'm at BOCES and I see the young people every day when I'm over there, get off the buses, and they're excited about the programs. I hate to say they'd rather be there all day than come back to CNS or whatever. John, your leadership has been awesome. I've seen an increase because I'm over at BOCES in the number of students attending. That has a lot to do with Jamie Sullivan and the guidance counselors at the high school who have made a change. And, you know, not everybody's going to go to college, and you still can be in a CTE program and go to college. The engineering program is, you know, Lockheed Martin, and the 2 new ones this year. The one I would really like in Onondaga County, so this is more with Dr. Cook, is the program you talked about. It's very popular, is the environmental science down in Cortland. We don't have anybody go to that, do we?
No.
That would be just a long ride. I'd like to see that in Onondaga County somewhere. So if you have some ideas that you would like to my way. I mean, this is one of the most popular BOCES programs. There's probably 50 to 60 kids, and I know they're all coming from Marathon and Cortland and Homer, but I would love to see this in Onondaga County. But that's me and doing BOCES. The other program that Dan and Paul and I visited last year is another exciting program, and that's the co-op program. Having students go out and actually work like as a in the veterinary hospital, or a girl this year that I went to see was in the district attorney's office. would
So I
love-
think you're talking about the career exploration internship
Yes,
program.
yes.
Yeah, so
I'm
that's.
sorry, I'm talking about,
Nope,
yeah.
that's the,
Um,
yes.
I love to see that grow. Give our seniors a little bit more flexibility to leave the building it's just things that I have. But
Uh,
John, thank you. I
no.
want to say.
And you did bring up co-op too also,
Okay.
but so yeah, these are work-based learning programs
Right.
which students, actually get out into businesses and it's credit bearing. So if they get 54 hours or more, 54 to 108 hours, they get half a credit. If they get 108 or more, they can get a full credit.
I also want to take a shout out to Mr. Lucia and the business department. I never say anything. I hope he's watching.
One thing I did want to mention that I neglected to mention was, one of our teachers was recently featured on Spectrum News Channel with their Wall Street students, and they were displaying their finance knowledge, and that was, they were highlighted in terms of how much they knew in terms of the finance and real world application dealing with Wall Street and making
Awesome.
great financial decisions.
I also noticed that 2 CTE students, and I don't know if they're still in the crowd, were, got a thing, and I don't know what programs they're in, but I'd like to know. So I'll have to ask Chris or somebody what programs they're in. I'd like to know.
And we're, as we pointed out earlier, we're one of the few schools who obviously have the embedded core program, our core financial institute in our school. And that was implemented several years ago, and a lot of our staff does banking with those students. Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Hey, we had the comments from the audience portion of the meeting, and we have no speakers today, but as always, we welcome comments from public, and we set aside time to do that. So we'll move on today to Board of Education Committee reports, and I'll ask Mr. Thorne, anything on policy?
Thank you, President Farvalia. Our first policy committee meeting of the new year will be held January 16th here at the district's office.
Okay, thank you. And Crabtree Legislative, we just had a meeting.
Yes, we just had a meeting,
meeting.
which I thought it was, really well done. Lisa's not here now, but SEL presentation. One thing she brought up, and Paul, you were there, and so was Xavier, is that I know we do a lot of work with our state representatives, but maybe we need to set up a meeting with 3 of our county legislators who represent us and somebody from Ryan McMahon's. And didn't I go to the post office and run into Debbie Cody, and she's really willing. So I'm going to set something up, Paul, for a few of us to meet with them, because I think it's important as the money dries up from the federal government that we continue these things. We also had a presentation by Joey Koala and Brady Gwilt, along with their teacher, Miss Bambino, on the Positivity Project. That goes right along with what Lisa said with the Civic. Our next meeting will be February 8th, and it looks like the governor is going to come right out within the next 2 weeks and say what her specific goals are, or the money for the budget. So Don will know a little bit more, I think, earlier than we usually do. Unfortunately, the governor, as you got in the Friday letter, vetoed the use of pilots or with the formula. So that's not going to help us when we do the tax cap. February 2nd, Capitol Conference. Please let our district clerk know if you're interested in that. It's all virtual. You can sit home and drink coffee, and they give you breaks, and you will learn a lot about our commissioner and so forth. And then I have not heard anything, Jill, about February 3rd, but something should be coming from Central New York School Boards Association. where we all attend and meet with our legislators. And then Paul, I don't know if you're going on February 6th to the lobby day. I'm unable to go because I have something that day.
I'm gonna be, I was gonna call and make an appointment. I'm gonna be in Albany anyway.
Okay.
On that 7th. It's
Okay.
Wednesday the 7th, so I'm gonna see if I can get some appointments
Okay.
since I'll be there. Yep.
So I thought it was a great meeting, and I don't know if Xavier's not here, but if you wanted to add anything to what happened at the legislative meeting?
No, just that the county, the piece of talking to some of our county legislators is interesting, just to refresh the board. The county, Ryan McMahon committed to support some of our programs, supporting SEL a couple of years back, like Liberty Resources. So I think it's worth going back to them as that starts to come to an end and asking if they could continue to support us there, because I think we're going to need every resource possible. So wanted to piggyback on that because that's why we brought up that as something a little different. We've really never, county legislature's an enigma to me. They're kind of like there and they have a chunk of money and nobody really pays attention, it seems. At least I don't. So I think it's time to start. Thank you. Superintendent Bowles.
Thank you. Just coming off of the break, there's been a little bit of a lull, but our girls' basketball team earlier last week, they beat FM. They beat them big. Meadow Wirtz had 25 points, so it was a big game for her, and they just knocked off Central Square on Friday night here at home. And then our boys have continued a run. Their only loss is to Liverpool, but at Central Square on Friday night, they beat them pretty big. The boys swim team tomorrow is going to be swimming against FM at Nottingham Pool. Trying to make sure I get to that. Next board meeting, we're going to be trying to honor some of the winners of the spelling bee. So again, trying to make sure we're acknowledge some of the greatness of our students, and then trying to get to a few other things. I think I may try to dust off my skates because I've heard that going to a boys hockey game, and it's been years, but if I can get to a practice, I may even venture onto the ice, but I'm getting older, so who knows? But it's been a quieter week, just coming off a break, and more to come.
Thank you. Board of Education comments? Button.
I just want to, I wasn't going to say anything, but I just want to say, I will challenge you to a lap around the ice. We'll see who can do it faster.
We're a hot, come on.
Yeah, you're a whole hockey family. How is that even fair?
That was the point. That was the point I was making.
Ice skating's not easy, you know that.
Go backwards. Yeah. Probably win still. Other Board of Education comments of relevance? Relevance.
I have said,
No, it was relevant.
Kay Kiggins passed away, and I have no information on it, but Kay Kiggins was the secretary when I was at Cicero L, was there for many years. She was very sick in Florida. So Jill, I'll try to find out some information, but she was definitely part of this district. I just want to ask the board for a couple ideas here. I would ask Jill if she could do a one-page Board of Education directory with our addresses, phone numbers and emails for us privately. So I have it on my filing cabinet or whatever. I think that would be very easy to do. And if the board was supportive, I really would like to have a directory of cell phones and emails. We already have
But
it.
just if it's-
There we go.
Okay.
I need, is it on our page? Okay, thank you.
My Google Drive.
All right, the next thing I know we don't have is our Board of Education webpage. I just think it needs to be very much revised. I go on to other school districts again when I'm bored, and I see Beeville, and I see Liverpool, and I see SM. I truly feel that it needs to be looked at, whether we want to have our picture on that or not, or whether we want a short biography, that would be up to the board. But we don't even have what a board member does on there, on our page. So I really would like that somehow revised so that people know who we really are And, you know, it says Robert Crabtree, or it says Paul Fafalia, and it tells your term and stuff, but they don't really know a lot of information. And I'm not gonna say do it like, Beeville has a whole, you know, piece on each person, but I think this needs to be, you know, updated. And then some things that I attended or saw yesterday, I attended a different church in the community. And I know you've heard, I know that Amanda's heard of Ava Tyler. Ava Tyler is just one of the voices in our community, singer, and she sang a hymn yesterday that was out of this world. She has sang national anthems at our games, and she's been, there'll be somebody to bring in, awarded so many awards in the state of New York for her voice. And she's a senior this year. CNS had hosted the hockey tournament December 28th and 29th. It was, one of the teams did not make it, so they had 5 different teams, so there really wasn't a championship, but North Syracuse really did win because we won both games. Leighton Sullivan is the goalie. If you check in the stats, he's got so many saves, and you know what a save is over there. And in the tournament, they went to overtime, and then they went to a shootout. They don't do this, right? Usually a shootout. And they had a shootout. He had to save 10 to 12, and CNS won because of this goalie. Last week, I'm sorry to say to my fellow, did you ever beat West, Jenny? Yeah, no. Well, our team tied. So I'm glad you're going to see them play because they have one of the best teams that they had. I attended a bowling match down in Mattydale on January 2nd. We didn't have school, but Syracuse schools did have. Jacob Calabria had a 258 game and a 683 series. Garrett Arnold, 234, 610. The only 2 losses for our bowling team this year are to Beeville. I did go to a swim match with Liverpool. We didn't do that well, but Jake Griffin won the 100 freestyle in 52.51 seconds. And Nate Rinsky, as you know, is a great diver for CNS. He beat the Liverpool kid. And finally, as Dan said, the Central Square girls, we beat them. But what was really exciting is that's when they had the elementary shootout where all the 4th grade girls from all the schools get out there and throw the balls up and hit the balls, hit each other. And my alma mater, Cicero L, came on victorious. We have a lot of great things happening in this district. Thank you.
Hey, Student Board of Ed, Thomas, any more comments today?
Not really too much to say today. Like people are definitely rejuvenated from the break. I mean, there's always a couple day slump after the break, people readjusting to moderate sleep schedules, but can definitely tell that people are raring to go back into the curriculum. I just thought I'd take a moment to congratulate the junior high and CNS chorus students for the chorus concert that they did before Christmas break. I thought it was very wonderful. I was there myself and it was great. Yeah, that's all really I have to say.
Thank you. Okay, moving to routine action items. If I get a motion, please, for the minutes of, excuse me, December 18th, a motion from Mr. Thorne, second from Mr. Ludden. Any discussion on those? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, and that is carried. Thank you. Like a motion, please, for items B, C, and D to combine together. Motion from Mr. Merzio, second from Dr. Kramer. These are the classification of and placement of the students, disabled students of preschool, homeschool, and in school by the various committees. That those 3 are before us. Any discussion, questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, B, C, and D are carried. Question action items, acknowledgement of tax collection procedures, which are in front of you for A. If I could get a motion, please. Motion from Mrs. Ludden, second from Ms. Segru. Are in front of us. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, and those are. Declaration of marketable and non-marketable surplus, motion from Mr. Thorne, second from Mr. Herman. Any questions? Being done, all in favor? Opposed, and those are, that's carried. Thank you. Those are carried. C, resolution to abolish and create maintenance and operation positions. Motion from Mr. Thorne, second from Mr. Marizio. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, that is carried. The resolution to improve increased pay rates for certain substitute positions. Motion put that. Questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, and that is carried. And E, a resolution to ratify an agreement. This before you, please, motion, please. Warren second from Mr. Marizio. That is before us. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, thank you. Carried. We have some retirements to acknowledge. Kathleen Wheeler, elementary principal, retiring with 31 years of service. William Capoli, physical education teacher, retiring with 24 years of service. Scott Douglas, mathematics teacher with 20.2 years of service. So as you can see, in retirement season, that's a lot of years of service right there, and we're going to see more, I'm sure, the next meeting. So congratulations to these folks, and I wish them a long and happy, healthy. Motion, please, for instructional personnel report A to place before us. Mr. Thorne, second from Ms. Segru. That is before us. Any discussion? Being done, all in favor? Opposed, and that is carried. Thank you. Support staff personnel B, please. Motion from Dr. Kramer, second from Mr. Herman. That is before us. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, thank you. That is carried. And administrative personnel report C, a motion, please. Motion from Mr. Ludden, second from Mr. Thorne. That is before us. No questions, all in favor? Opposed, and that is carried. To make a motion for executive session, I'll ask for a second. The motions go into session for the purpose of reviewing one negotiations matter with no action to follow and two legal matters with no action to follow. If I get a second. Second from Mr. Marizio. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, that is carried. We are in executive session. A motion for adjournment. We're almost going to make it. Mr. Marizio, second from Dr. Kramer. Yeah, the whole thing.